Bears came out full power today. Hey there, Tamir from Fibonacci-Traders.com here with the daily market recap. Please hit the like, subscribe, share with friends, and without further ado, let's see the charts. SPY went all the way to retest the 399. Just by looking left, we can see that this 399-400 area is a very important level of support and resistance. Now, price needs to hold. Otherwise, this yellow trend line will get retested once again as support. And if it will fail, we have all the levels and trend lines to the downside to follow and manage our risk according. QQQ, same thing, went all the way back to 293 area. Just by looking left, this area, very important level of support and resistance. Now it needs to hold, otherwise we need to keep our eyes on all the levels to the downside and maybe even back, retesting this blue trend line as support. Anything can happen. All we can do is manage our risk, following price and using levels and trend lines to manage our risk. Dow Jones, if you're following me here and on Twitter, we said that the time will come that bulls will give up, breaking above this area, and if they will give up, price will start breaking to the downside, and here we are, breaking below this trend line. Now this trend line is not relevant. Cleaning the chart to get a better point of view of price action. 330 is next, and we have triple top of the 343. Now 326 is the next very important level of support that needs to hold. Otherwise, the bleeding to the downside will be very tough. IWM losing the grip from the uptrend channel and closing below the 188. 188, very strong resistance in the past. Now, failing to hold the support. So all we have to do is keep our eyes on the next levels of support to the downside. VIX, after breaking above this downtrend line, the falling wedge if you like, gapping up all the way to 2280, 23 area, looking left, very strong resistance. This resistance needs to hold, otherwise 2470 and 2670 to the upside. On the positive side, we have this gap to the downside, and we know historically 99% of all gaps on VIX will get filled. SMH, bulls gave up trying to break above this trend line. This trend line held very strong the higher highs as resistance. Now bulls gave up, going down. 231 needs to hold, otherwise this gap here at the 228 will get filled and we might go all the way back, retesting this trend line over here. Bitcoin, also price, bulls are struggling with this trend line here. And as we saw on Dow Jones and the SMH, if bulls will give up, price will start falling down because bears will take control. So all we have to do is manage our risk, following the levels to the downside to know where is the next support. Ethereum back below the 1676, 1680 area, and as we see from resistance, also here, very strong resistance this area, and until we won't have at least 1 week close above this area, in my opinion, we are going back, retesting the orange trend line. Natural gas, if you're following me here and on Twitter, You know this drawing, and it's getting validated each and every day that goes by. Ignore the news, ignore everything. Trade the chart, trade the candles, trade what you see, not what you think you see and what you think you hear on the news. Crude oil, 76, still holding, and as you can see, trend lines are the true support resistance for price action. AAPL, as we said a few videos ago, if the 158 will fail to break to the upside, if bulls will fail to break above this, we have a double top scenario. And here we are, breaking below this trend line. We clean the chart. Now, the gap at the 146.80 is going to get filled. Then we have all the levels to the downside to manage our risk. Amazon continuing to melt. 93 needs to hold. Very strong support resistance area during November, December, and January. Now it needs to hold. Otherwise, this gap over here will get filled, and also this gap over here will get filled. More than 80% of all gaps on stocks will get filled throughout time. So we have these two to the downside. They will get filled if 90 to 80 will fail to hold. Google failing and breaking below the 618 area. Now it's going to the 90 and we have this gap at the 88.60. Gaps are like magnets to price action. If you see a gap, you know that more than 80% chance that gap will get filled, and here we are, Meta sliding down inside this gap. Still time, but it will get filled if the momentum in the general market will continue to be super bearish. Microsoft, gap after gap to the downside. Now, once again, if you saw my previous videos in the past few weeks, you know all these trend lines. Now this trend line failed to hold. Back to the yellow trend line. This yellow trend line held as resistance for price action. We can do it like this one here. Held resistance for price action since December 2021. Now, maybe we are going to check it to the downside as support. Anything can happen. And as we can see, swing low, swing high. Fibonacci level 253 is holding with a doji. Let's see if it will validate. And we get some kind of a trend reversal to the upside. We do have here also this trend line, low, low, and not surprising. On the trend line, follow price, use levels and trend lines to manage the risk. Nothing else. No other indicators are truly needed, not even volume, because everything follows price. Think about it. Even volume. Think about it. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Netflix finally breaking below 344 area, held very strong since beginning of January, since middle of January. Now we have this gap, 325 to the downside. Probably 80% chance will get filled very soon, retesting this yellow trend line, and then maybe we'll get a bounce. If this yellow trend line will fail to hold, look for this red trend line. NVDA breaking to the downside. If this orange trend line, which was a very strong resistance for the higher highs since September of 2022, Now it needs to hold as support. If it will fail to hold as support, most probably we will see retesting this white trend line as support. Shopify. Not surprising, as we said few videos ago, after earnings breaking to the downside, it will go all the way to retesting this trend line as support. This trend line held the higher lows, since October 2022. Each and every time reached this trend line, it bounced. Now let's see if these 3 consecutive dojis to the downside, and we have a doji of a trend line with 618 Fibonacci level. Let's see if tomorrow or the day after we can get a wick to close this gap over here and then bounce towards this gap over here. Tesla struggling with the 214. We have mentioned this 214 few weeks ago, few videos ago. Now bulls are struggling, and as we saw on the Dow Jones and SMH, you know what happens when bulls give up. Bears come in full control. 188 needs to hold, otherwise this gap over here will get filled. So I hope you found this video helpful. If you did, please hit the like, subscribe will be much appreciated, and don't forget, check my Fibonacci Traders Academy, 22 videos, 20 minutes or less, on how to improve your trading, technical side, mental side, and until the next video, stay safe.